Bennett, 009. How are we all? Everyone's back.
Big Red.
Dillsy.
All hands on deck today.
Back in the studio. Good to be back, boys.
Yeah, he's back from
you,
China.
Good back from China.
Got back into the country, all right?
Yep, they let me back, yep.
I can tell you
They
it's been
did.
flat since you were gone. I've worked out I don't really like spending time with Dylan when you're not here, so,
Yeah, I'm
so
like
it's
that
good to have you
glue.
back. Yeah.
It's like an awkward conversation between two guys without the sort of medium there.
You having a beer?
Still on the waters, mate. I've got about a week to go.
Righto.
But you have one for me.
How was the weekend?
Good, mate. Bit of family time up the Sunshine Coast, up at Twin Waters. Went to Noosa a bit. And
Food and Wine Festival?
Yeah, found out the Food and Wine Festival was on. That looked pretty good up there in Noosa. So it was a good weekend. What about you?
Did you go to that restaurant I tipped you on or what?
No, I didn't get there. Was that McDonald's?
No, I don't eat McDonald's, mate.
No, you're an athlete. Yeah, no, it was good. What did you get up to?
We'll get into the foot. I went to the footy on Saturday. We'll get into that a little bit, but my favourite time of the year, election time. Now, I know you guys
Because
don't.
of the sausages,
I didn't get one.
didn't you?
Where was that? That was a stitch up.
All the schools have the sausage sizzle going.
Yeah.
No,
It's like Bunnings.
Well, our school hall's under redevelopment, so it was down the road at the public hall and no sausage. Didn't see one. Wanted to stop and have a chat to a candidate. Couldn't find one. Well, it was a fairly big battle over the weekend, though. Maybe we won't go too political in one side or the other, but maybe not the result that everyone wanted, but probably the one that Australia needed right now. Positives for the left, well, scratch that. Positives for the middle of Australia. No more Tony Abbott, even though he got a $100,000 pay rise today. No more Fraser Anning, he's gone. And a new Labor leader to follow. I don't think the country was ever getting behind Bill Shorten. I don't think that was going to happen. So I think that's good for Australian politics. I think we need to be thankful that we live in the best country in the world.
We do.
It is a democracy. Let's not be bitter. I think people need to find common ground in Australia. We do live in a good country. Instead of, I hate this continual divide. So the politicians want to divide us, but I would say there's a whole lot more people that just sit there right in the middle, but I get forced to the edges on a regular basis. So if you didn't get the result you wanted over the weekend, I would say if you're passionate about the environment or other changes that you want to see made, be that change. Go and buy a Tesla, pick up some rubbish, install some solar panels, and start talking to your local member now.
Deep red.
You like that?
You look a bit like K. Rudd.
One day, but
Same hair colour.
my whole childhood, I thought I was going to be a politician. That was
Still
my
could be.
lifelong dream. But as I grew up, I realised
Be the
that
change you want to be.
no matter what happens, 50% of the country hates you by default, which is what I hate about politics. But that probably covers the politics over the weekend.
That'll do. Let's move into some sport.
Righto. NRL. What do we got?
Well,
Broncos had a win.
Broncos are they've strung a couple in a row now. Got the Warriors this week, so that'll be interesting. Nicarima against his old team over there in New Zealand.
Oh,
Be
yeah.
a bit of feeling in that game.
I think when they beat Manly, they said, "Oh yeah, good one," but you've only beat Manly. Now they've followed that up with a defeat over the Roosters, probably a bit more strong.
Yeah, that was a good win over the Roosters. Yeah, I mean, everyone at the start of the year had them as one of the teams to beat. Whether the new coach has taken a while or the game plan to gel, maybe. But
Yep.
I think the last couple of weeks they've probably shown that they'll be thereabouts at the point end of the year. They probably got Roosters at the right time. Roosters were probably due to have an off week.
Can't win every week.
Can't win every week. So, yeah, look, they're moving in the right direction. Rabbitohs obviously had another win, so they keep chugging along.
So that was Harford, the Jaffa on the
It
weekend.
was, yeah, very, very close, but we'll
We'll cover that at the end.
cover that with Junior later on. But, yeah, Penrith obviously still, they just where to for them. I mean, from all reports, there's some big rifts and divide going through that team.
It's a bit of mud getting thrown at Cameron Ciraldo online.
Yeah.
That he was the one that basically undermined Griffin when he was there, and plenty of the players and basically still not happy that they never wanted to see the changes that have been made. So
Yeah, and I mean, there's people coming out saying that, Cleary should never have been signed to go and, well, the two Cleary should never been in the same side. Yeah, I mean, they've obviously got issues there, whether the fallout from Gus leaving and everything else in the off-season with the videos, etc., whether that's caught up with them, I don't know, but they just look like they've got no confidence and just no structure, no game plan.
Don't want to be there.
Don't want to be there.
What about our guys, the Titans? That was tough. I was there
It
on the
was
weekend.
16 zip up and never put another point on the board.
They looked good early. I thought, good. We're going to put a cricket score on the Bulldogs here. We're going to be good for our for and against, and we'll move our way, slowly away from the bottom of the ladder. Wasn't to be. That was horrendous.
Well, the concern for me is that they've done that
Thanks,
a few
Timmy,
times
sorry.
this year. There's been a few games where they've played good for a half or 3/4 of the game, and then they just go missing. I don't know what the answer is to that, but
Do we need to start the pod again? That was really noisy. I didn't realise.
No, I think it's fine.
You're good? Sorry, listeners. Some technical
Yeah, no,
difficulties.
it's distant in the background.
Sweaty
It's
box
fine now.
living up
We
to
left-
its
we left
name
the
again this week. We left the fan
We left
on.
the fan on. I could hear it in the background. It's fine.
start again.
No, we'll be right. Pull the mic in. We're going. It's all good.
We're going to keep going.
Yeah, people.
It's raw. It's live. Just
No editing.
no editing.
I'm going to have a bit of a rant. I was pretty pissed off at the footy on the weekend. It was my first game that I'd gone to for the year. I'm a long-time member. I bought a general admission ticket because I knew there wouldn't be many in the crowd on the weekend. We went and sat. We were going to sit in the members' bar. So went and met up with a couple of mates there at the members' bar before the game. There's a couple of seats in front of the members' bar. So we sit down. There's 20,000 seats in the stadium that are spare. And probably, another 20 just in our general vicinity that are spare. Next minute, stadium staff walks up to me and says, "Hey, mate, are you seated in the right spot?" And it's like, "Well, we're having a beer here at the members' bar." And he goes, "Oh, look, I'm going to have to check on that." Comes back 5 minutes later and tells us we've got to leave. So I did blow a bit of a gasket. I think when you're when you're trying to get people to along to a football game, and there's 20,000 spare seats in the stadium, does it really matter where people are sitting?
No, probably not, but the poor guy's just trying to do his job, isn't he?
I was sitting in the members section. I was in the members bar.
Did you have a seat number on your ticket?
No, I was in a general admission ticket.
No reserve seating.
Oh, down near the Bulldogs fans at the other end of the stadium.
It's all right. Get down there and stir them up.
No, I was not happy. Not to mention that I blew through my $120 that I took out to go to the footy in no time. And they wonder why there's no one going to the games. It's
And they
exorbitantly
lost,
expensive.
just to top it off.
Ridiculously expensive. Stadium staff treating you like a criminal because you're trying to have a beer at the footy. And, the team lost.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for the live games now. I mean, you can sit on your couch and watch 8 live games a weekend in the comfort of your own home, on your couch, with a cold beer in the fridge.
I got a text from a mate on the weekend. He said if the Titans lose tonight, he knew a fair few long-time members that were they'd had enough of their membership. They weren't renewing.
Well, I mean, we've touched on it before, but without when the Titans are winning, it's probably not just the Titans; it's everywhere. But it's probably more so on the Gold Coast. They need the teams winning for guys to go along. It's a very fickle crowd, both the Suns and the Titans. If they're not winning games, people don't go along and watch them.
That's right.
And we've said it before, but it's completely different in Adelaide and Melbourne, in particular in the AFL.
Well, what else do you do?
Carlton will still get 40, 50, 60,000 to a game, and they've won 3 games in 2 years. So
Crazy.
yeah, it's definitely an issue. I mean, I don't know how they drag people along to the game, but you're right. If you take your kids along to watch a footy, you and your wife and 2 kids, you're up for $150.
That was $120. I didn't have the kids with me and I didn't eat. If you believe that. That was $40 for a general admission ticket and a couple of beers. Gone. And a couple of doubles on the way in the door because I can't resist.
I've got a few double tickets. And a sneaky 50 at the tab.
No money at the tab. But yeah, disappointing as a I don't know. I've been a Titans, not a ticketed member, but a Titans social member since day dot, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest glaring point for me is Ash Taylor. I mean, we've waited 3 years probably now for him to really.
Every man and his dog on the all the bobbleheads on TV are all basically saying he's overpaid, underperforming, and he may not reach those heights that they thought he was going to reach.
Well, he's nearly the highest paid in the game, and he's far from the best player in the game. So put those two together, it doesn't add up. I mean, he's just from where he was at 3 years ago. You know, he was on State of Origin, on the fringe of State of Origin as a young kid, and now there's I don't know whether it's true or not, but there's reports that he might not even play first grade in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, mate, if they sit him down. A couple of, I think, forward pack played pretty well. They rolled up the field pretty quick, but you know, halves into the centres was average. I think Brian Kelly's been pretty quiet since he come to the club. Shannon Boyd, as far as forwards goes, pretty quiet since he come to the club. I think Peachy started off the bench on the weekend. Our best 15 minutes were when at the start of the game. I'm not sure he's delivering what we thought.
He hasn't been a great buy yet, has he?
We're going to go into Mal's buddy Origin teams, and he's put him on the Blues team. But I don't know. I'm surprised by that.
Yeah. Well, the only hope he's got is Fittler's big on incumbent pick and stick type theory, so he may get in on last year. But
you got a big fella like Mo. I don't know how to say his name. Mo Fatuoake. It's a big. I don't know. I just call him Big Mo. Big fella for the Titans.
Yeah.
He's been playing with a broken arm, broken wrist.
Young guy.
Yeah. He
19,
goes
20
good.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, he's got a big future.
You got guys in the team like that. You got Jai Arrow just absolutely busting. Kevin Proctor played full game again, I think, on the weekend.
Wallace played his best game for
Wallace played
quite a few weeks.
Yeah, but I just don't know. And then I did a live video from the game. I thought we got 2 dud decisions, but when I got home, everyone told me no, clear.
You say that every week, though.
Yeah, I do. Blew a massive lead.
Yeah, so why don't we get Mau's team up? So obviously Mau released today his Queensland and New South Wales side. So I think we're only a week or so away from the 2 coaches picking their teams.
So we'll go to the Blues. Excuse me, sorry. Blues first. So Mal's got Tedesco, Ferguson, Mitchell, Roberts, Addo-Carr, Keary, Cleary, Clemmer, Cook, Vaughan, Cordner, Frizzell, Travojevic, Radley, Pryor, Crichton, Pangai, Peachy, Murray on the bench. I'm very surprised Peachy's in that team.
Well, the one that stands out for me straight away is James Roberts.
Yeah,
not even playing first grade at the moment. Again, like I just said, I know Fittler's big into pick and stick, and Roberts did the job last year.
Is Mal taking the piss or what?
I think as a Queenslander, I'd rather not have Roberts there. To be fair, I think he's one of those players that could just turn up and.
Yeah, he was quiet last. I don't think he really did.
Does he really want to? Does he really want to be at the Broncos at the moment? Does he really want to play? I mean, you get him on the State of Origin scene when he wants to be there, and he's pumped up for it.
Nathan Cleary. So stick and pick. They've picked Cleary. Well, it's Mal, I guess, that's doing this, but I don't know why Mal would put Cleary in the side and then not James Maloney.
Well, the only thing I can see there is Cleary is obviously the future of that side. Maloney's probably only got a couple of years left.
Yeah.
I mean, those halves, Cleary and Keary, could be the future of that side for.
Does Blake Ferguson meet the no wankers policy that I thought they brought in some sort of policy that you had to, hasn't he? He's had to go and
definitely doesn't meet that policy.
Well, he's from south of the Tweed, so that immediately rules him out.
But you know, Matt Pryor is. I think that's a pretty good selection. Crichton looks like he's getting back to some form, and obviously Pangai. If Pangai comes off the bench, the big bopper he is, could.
There's a few blokes with injury clouds. Is Cordner injured at the moment? Mitchell. Yeah, I don't know. Be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty good side. There's plenty of speed there.
What about this side? Matt Gillette, captain.
Yeah, so
Queensland.
So this is Meninga's obviously his take. Now, he's obviously released these teams, but he's also come out and said that in no way, being the Australian coach, does he influence either coach with who they pick. It's entirely up to them.
There's no Matt Scott in that side.
No, and there is whispers around that they may call him in.
No Cohen Hess.
No Cohen Hess. So
Yeah.
obviously you've got, looking at Moses Mbai as a utility, which don't know whether I agree with that or not. I guess he can play a few different positions, but
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
you got Hunt at hooker. Obviously Munster and Cherry Evans in the halves, and then Michael Morgan goes to 3.
Morgan in the centres. I'd have Morgan in the 14, and I'd put. I'd actually have Munster in the centres, bring in another half.
Yeah, well, Milford's got to be unlucky. His form the last couple of weeks since the Broncos have started going well has been very good.
Yeah.
Obviously, Cherry Evans has been injured, but he reckons he'll be right to go.
Jared Wallace, 19th man. So
I think Wallace
slipped.
will miss out.
How do they not have Jai Arrow in the starting side? Are they kidding themselves?
Yeah, he'll come off the bench and offer Hengawi.
That's a surprise.
Yeah,
I know Gillette's good, but he didn't even play last year, and he's the captain.
Well, I think.
Surely Munster or Cherry would be the captain of that side.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they both. Cherry Evans captains his side, but I think Gillette is as much a spiritual leader for the team, having been around for quite a while.
Yep.
Obviously, been in that side for a few years now, so be exciting to see Ponga at fullback, see how he goes with that extra year under his belt from last year.
Yeah, he surprised me last year. I thought he was brilliant in that third game.
Yeah, he was very good.
And coming into form at the moment too, which is good. So
I've got to say, on paper, we look a little bit.
I reckon we've got him. Looking at that, we're good to go.
Well, I think we look a bit underdone. They definitely look better on paper, but I think that's how we like it, isn't it, Queenslanders?
Kevy was on the telly last night and basically won't carry any injuries past the weekend. So if you're not fit, no dice.
So it must be next week it's selected.
Getting
next
close.
week he'll pick his team. So
Yep.
we'll touch on that once the teams have been released or picked.
Yeah, we'll go deeper on that. What else have we got? You got. I must admit, I didn't see a whole lot of AFL on the weekend. Timmy was there on the ground reporter on Saturday. Wasn't impressed with the Crows. Thought the scoreline flattered them.
Yeah, look, I mean, they definitely were behind the whole game.
Yeah.
Really, but they did come home strong, and I think Dylan was mentioning before. Had they had another 5 minutes, could have been a different result. I was obviously cheering for the Crows, considering the
Jaffa.
The Jaffa.
Look, as you said, they gave away a big start. Brisbane jumped out to 20 or 25 point lead there at one point. Adelaide reeled them in, and it looked like they were going to run over top of them, but the siren got the better of them, and Brisbane snuck home by a point. So that multi-ticket quickly got torn up.
Bugger.
But yeah, other AFL, I mean, Geelong continue along with Mary Dance on top of the ladder. The one for me that popped its head up again in the AFL is 2 weeks in a row now is umpire or derogatory comments towards umpires. Dane Rampy the week before, where he called the umpire, or told the umpire that he talks like a little girl because he couldn't hear him properly. And then Dale Thomas has come out this week and called the umpire a cheat. So for me, like, a fine just doesn't cop it. These guys make big money, and a fine doesn't deter this sort of stuff. Does the AFL need to look at a sin bin or a send-off policy?
Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me.
Yeah, but
is the issue that we can hear that now because there's a microphone?
Well, we can't hear it. It was reported by the umpire. It wasn't heard through the commentary.
I don't know. Yeah, I get it. They're high paid, but also highly juiced. Athletes that are just running on adrenaline.
White line fever and everything else.
Yeah.
But you're always as a young kid playing footy or playing sport, you're told you always respect the umpire. You go by the umpires. You listen for the whistle, play for the whistle. And now 2 weeks in a row, the AFL's had an incident where they've had to come out and basically address what these guys are saying to the umpires.
Yeah.
Don't know.
It doesn't. I don't know.
I just don't think fines.
Gordon Tallis called Bill Harrigan a cheat. That's why he got sent off in that Origin game.
Well, this is the point I'm making. Does the AFL need to adopt the...
They've got no send-off, do they?
No send-off. No sin bin, no send-off. It's just a fine or a suspension.
It's a weird sport all round, to be honest.
You should get into it more.
Yeah. Hey, I forgot to mention NRL. Is it Poppenhausen for the Storm? Did you see that young fella?
No, I didn't see it.
I call him Little Poppy instead of Big Poppy. Big Papa. I don't know. Watch that space. Was unwanted at the Tigers and he carved them up on the weekend playing for the Storm. Ryan Poppenhausen.
All right. I'll look that one up.
Yeah, he was pretty good. Jared Hayne was, let's avoid that.
Cooper Cronk retired yesterday.
I don't like, it's so weird. It's May and he's announcing his retirement.
Sometimes you wonder whether the club has something to do with that.
What does that matter?
Well, just guys like that where it's out there now knowing that it's their final year.
We really need to read my notes too before we start the show because I've got all this gold that we've just skipped over.
You can still address it.
We should.
What do you got there?
What about... no, we covered Dylan Walker last week. Jack DeBellin got overruled.
It did.
So the NRL was upheld there. I think that's a good thing. I think they're entitled to protect their brand. What else have we got?
Well, we spoke earlier about that. The DeBellin similarity to Falau case.
Yeah.
Obviously the ARU and the NRL and all these and the AFL, they all have the right to protect their brand, protect what they're about.
What about this one while we're on AFL? NRL dominating Foxtel ratings this footy season. 17 of the top 20 rating football matches this year are NRL fixtures, including the top 2. Only AFL matches in the top 3 in the top. That doesn't make sense. Anyway, we're dominating. NRL so that's the clear difference between the games. One's really good to watch live and one's really good to watch on TV, which always brings me back to my point. Exit out of these big stadiums, take it to the park. NRL looks really good when the stadium's full. Take it to Leichhardt, take it to Manly. Titans, if it was full, would be nice. This new stadium in Parramatta would be good, but ANZ looks horrible. So the revenue's clearly not coming from the gate, so avoid the big stadiums. But they're dominating where the big cash is, and that's television. Sorry. I'm just scaring my notes here, mate.
That's
Sorry,
gold,
bud.
Red.
You like that? What do we got? Oh, we'll talk about that in the golf.
The golf?
No, we're not there yet. We're not at golf yet. Any more AFL? No, you got nothing.
Got nothing else in the AFL.
That's my fault. I'm sorry. I've never got any banter for you because I try. I flick it over and then I fall asleep and then I've got to wake up, change channels back to something that's worth watching. A-League, the World Game, had their final on the weekend.
Grand final on Sunday night.
Good to see even they have controversy. VAR decision, Sydney scored in about 15 minutes in. Player was called offside, clearly wasn't offside, but their bunker couldn't work it out. So good news. Rugby league fans are not of their own. All sports can't work out technology.
Yeah, so Sydney FC got up there in penalty shootout over in Perth. And from all reports, it was the biggest crowd they've had at that new stadium, including all the AFL games this year.
Really?
So
yeah, righto.
The A-League still big as ever.
Palm Beach Under 6 had another win there on fire this year.
Did they?
Yeah, shout out to the boys.
Undefeated.
I don't know about undefeated, but they're going strong. What else we got? NBA?
Yeah, so the Warriors wrapped up their series this morning or this afternoon.
To be honest, if I'm looking through the channels and I've got AFL or NBA wins every time. That's exciting.
Yeah, the NBA playoffs is good. I mean, it's the Warriors team again going to the championships for I think the 5th year in a row.
I can't see. So the Raptors fought back yesterday to go double overtime and get the win against the Bucks, but I can't see either of those teams troubling the Warriors. The Warriors have now got a break while these two teams slug it out for at least another 2 games, probably 2 or 3 more games, and then meet the Warriors in the final.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this Warriors team now is the best NBA team we've seen since the Jordan days at Chicago.
It is stacked.
I mean, and they're dominating still, even without Kevin Durant, who'd be in the top handful of players in the NBA.
And he's going to the Knicks next year. Is that right? Or that didn't come through?
I don't know about that.
I need to get your mate on here. He's an absolute guru.
I didn't say that, but my point is that they're a phenomenal side with an absolute superstar still sitting on the sideline.
Yeah.
So
did he play yet today?
No,
didn't play.
So yeah, I can't see whoever wins that other series out of Milwaukee and Toronto. I can't see them getting close to the Warriors, which is good for Bogut. He's just going to front up mid-season and collect another ring.
So he's been playing a lot of minutes. I haven't seen much of him.
He played a bit today, and he's doing really well. I mean, they're absolutely raving about him over there. They absolutely love the fact that they got him on board. So
yeah,
it's been a big success.
The weekend golf, you'll love. Where was Tiger? We talked him up last week.
Tiger had the weekend off.
Did he not? Didn't make the cut.
Missed the cut.
Wow.
In hindsight, hadn't played since the Masters, so it's a fairly big break.
You were talking about that, and I don't know if we talked about it on the show. But
he's obviously still been working hard, but there's still nothing like that match fitness, so to speak. So he hadn't played for 6 or 7 weeks and just looked a little bit rusty. It was interesting. I mean, he played the first 2 days. He played with Brooks Koepka, and
blew him away.
Koepka was 12 or 13 under par after 36, and Tiger was, I think, 5 over. So you're talking 16, 17, 18 shot different over 2 rounds.
In the exact same conditions.
In the same group.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look, Brooks Koepka, it's his 4th major in the last 8 starts. So he's dominating golf now like Tiger did back in his heyday. He's
gone wire to wire too, but that hadn't happened in 36 years or something.
Wire to wire. I mean, in the end, he won by 2, but he led by 5, 6, 7 shots.
He was tanking on the last day just to bring his club.
Oh, I don't know if he was tanking. I mean, the last day was clearly
just so he doesn't get penalised on club day when he goes back to playing club golf.
Protecting the handicap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but the last day was clearly the hardest. The wind got up, and as he said in his press conference after that, playing with the lead is actually harder than being just off the lead.
Chasing.
Whether you play protective a little bit or you don't, you probably have a different mindset. So he led by 7 starting the last day, got to within 1 with 4 holes to go. Dustin Johnson was coming pretty hard at him, but to Koepka's credit, he turned it around in the last 3 or 4 holes and got it into the clubhouse and racked up another major. So,
what do you think about John Daly playing in the cart? I tagged in that on the weekend.
Yeah, I did see that. It's not the first time it's happened. My take on it is the reality is Daly's not going to compete. He's not going to be competitive. So there's young guys, up-and-coming guys that miss out on a spot in that tournament.
Yeah.
That's taken up. And, I mean, he's earned his right to be there. He's won the tournament before. He's a 2-time major champion. But he's taken a spot of another young guy that potentially could compete or could gain experience or could benefit his career.
Cart?
Well, he's got arthritis in his knee, basically. So he can't, he gets doctor's certificates. He physically can't walk 18 holes of golf.
Tiger's response was that he played around with a broken leg.
Well, that's right. To me, golf at that level is all about not so much just hitting the golf ball. It's about the fitness and you're walking 5 or 6 kilometres.
I actually think there should be a little bit more Happy Gilmore about golf. I was watching the NBA last night, and they have at the free throw line.
Here we go, Timmy.
This is where it starts, is it?
It's all downhill from here.
Like I'm obviously not a pioneer. Like I didn't come up with this idea like Adam Sandler did. But I was watching the NBA, and during the free throws, that everyone behind the backboard is just trying to put them off, like full screaming, waving stuff in the air. And then you get to the golf, and those princesses, it's quiet, please, and everyone's got to be silent. What's the deal?
It's interesting you say that because this tournament this weekend was in New York, and New York, of all places, is renowned as being the most rowdy, loud, boisterous crowd anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And in the middle of the back nine on the last day, when Dustin Johnson started to get pretty close to the lead,
Koepka could hear the crowd roaring him.
they could hear, and they started a DJ chant, and there was a few times he had to back away, and it was probably not over the top, but it was to the point where it actually
You will not make that shot,
it was starting to get to him.
jackass. Timmy liked it. Timmy liked it. Play it as it lies, happy. I reckon they should be able to unload.
So there's actually a few tournaments around the world now where they actually are introducing party holes and
Pool deck.
pool deck.
Yeah, I like it.
Royal Pines on the Gold Coast actually do the party hole.
Yeah.
So
Did you get an invite to that last year?
I get an invite.
Weird.
Worked on the beach body and everything.
must have
So
missed that one. Yeah, so I think the players don't have an issue with it. The issue they have is when there is quiet and silence, and then out of the nowhere, someone screams in the middle of a backswing.
Yeah.
If it's continued noise, be it a party hole or music or people screaming continually, the players don't
They just
care.
block it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
So you've either got to have one or the other.
Fair enough. Noise it is. What about your mate, Kyrgios? You're a big fan of him?
Not at all. Look, we spoke about it just before. For me, being an Australian, we're all about, Australians have always been, they've just been an athlete that's had ticker and, been determined, but being gracious. He just doesn't fit the Australian mould for me. And I keep hanging on to the fact that
you could make the Australian cricket side.
he's got a pretty good throw on him. He threw that chair a good 10 or 15 metres. I keep hanging on to the fact that Hewitt was a little bit like that as a youngster, and he matured and grew out of it. But
Like we spoke about before the show, though, Hewitt, his tantrums come from a place of passion. Kyrgios comes from a place of just, I don't know what. He's not passionate about tennis. He doesn't want to be there. That's why he's throwing shit around. So jog on.
100%. He's just a grub.
You talk about taking the spot of some young bloke that could be playing. Well, that's a clear case of just someone shouldn't even be involved with the sport.
And you hear it every time one of these athletes talks. They don't take their position. They don't take their success for granted. Kyrgios just couldn't give a shit. He takes everything he does for granted.
I felt sorry for the little I don't know, obviously one of the volunteer kids.
One of the ball boys.
Brought boys or girls, I can't remember. Brought his towel to him and has to stand there awkwardly, like after he's carried on like an absolute idiot, has to bring out the towel for him. It's like she should have thrown it at him or shot it at him out of a shirt gun.
Yeah, I mean the hardest part to swallow is he's actually got some talent and he's got some game and he could be a superstar. But
yeah, because people go, McEnroe, we love McEnroe. We do, but he's pretty handy too. Handy tennis player.
Yeah, he got by because he was one of the all-time greats. And
that's right. People are not going to look back on those two careers the same way.
And I often thought McEnroe, some of it was actually he played on a bit. Some of it was a bit of maybe an act.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Kyrgios is just literally just a grub. Anyway, that's my take on it.
Well, what else we got? It's one of my favourite weekends of the year for world sport. It's Monaco weekend. I've been to that race. Do yourself a favour. Save your pennies. Get there. You're right, Timmy. Technical difficulties back there. we'll call him back in a minute. Yeah. Save your pennies. Get to that race. It is like nothing else you've ever seen. The party atmosphere, the glitz, the glamour. I can't wait to stay up Sunday night and watch it.
What year did you go over?
4 years ago. 4 years ago this weekend.
And you went to the race on the Sunday?
Yep. We didn't buy a general admission ticket that day, I'll tell you. General admission gets you up on the goat track on the grassy hill up the side, and you're not guaranteed.
You would have just sat anywhere anyway.
Thankfully, my lovely wife booked us tickets, and we were sitting there looking in the grandstand, looking at all the super yachts, watching watch the cars come past. So it was one of the
Good experience.
top 3 sporting experiences of all time for sure. Probably my favourite, to be honest. It was good.
Yeah, so that's this weekend.
This weekend, I'm not sure we're going to get the result we want with Ricardo, but he's hoping anything can happen there.
Should we give Junior a ring?
I just wanted to touch on one thing. We were hopeless. We were so far off the mark when it came to Israel Folau. It wasn't funny. He's been sacked and didn't even fight, didn't even appeal.
No, I didn't appeal to the ARU.
Yeah.
But watch this space. I'm pretty much guaranteed there'll be a court case coming.
You reckon he's going to fight?
Look, he was up against it. He felt there was no future in him appealing to an ARU board that's consisting of 3 representatives that all have got emotion, everything else that goes into it.
Yeah.
And a rugby union people, whereas he can take it to court against a neutral in the court system where there's no emotion, it's all neutral, and they can just go off the facts and figures.
Anybody else find it funny that he's been sacked for his views, essentially, and they're the same views of the government that we just voted in on the weekend, essentially, when it boils down to it? Nothing from you.
Let's not go there.
I don't know. I was watching on the weekend, just like, yeah, right. This very, very conservative government has just got in, and they're sacking Israel for the same views. Those same views that I would say our kids receive in RE at public schools. Those people that go in and teach your kids, they have those same opinions, and certainly the kids that go to private schools in this country would receive that same indoctrination.
100%. I think I mentioned in the principal of my kid's school put up a post that he quickly pulled down about 15 minutes later, urging everyone not to vote Labor because they'd be forced to potentially take in kids that are gay or lesbian or whichever, and they feel like they should have a choice to not take them in and out of school, which I thought was pretty amazing. And this is the principal of the school putting up a post. So get your head around that.
So my point is not that I feel like Israel Folau has been hard done by it. I feel like the right decision has been made there, but the ARU are entitled to protect their brand. I just want to know why we hold rugby union players to a higher standard than politicians and potentially teachers in this country. I'm just going to leave you with that thought.
It's because they're so influential now. Social media, that's why.
Yeah, and as you keep saying it, they've got a right to protect their brand, and you're bringing the game into disrepute and everything else that the ARU stands by. They don't want that sort of publicity brought, or that negativity, whatever you want to call it, brought into the game.
Yeah,
and they've obviously sacked him on the grounds of that.
All righto. From one sad note to another, let's get Junior on the phone and we'll talk about what happened on the weekend. Hopefully he answers. Was he still working?
No, he'd be right. Came very close, didn't he?
Mate, I was filthy Saturday afternoon. I've got to apologise to the 2 blokes that I was out on the beers with. The Titans lost, and then I saw the Crows had lost. And old mate had asked me to move seats at this footy stadium. I was in a real filthy mood by the time we got to the Dog and Parrot on Saturday night.
Junior.
Oh, boys.
How are you, mate?
What happened?
I just caught a bit of the end there about your Saturday afternoon, and I threw a tantrum.
Sounded a bit like your Saturday, Junior.
And I was booted out of the house for a little while, but I actually couldn't believe it. I sort of flicked it on and off throughout the game, and they were coming home unbelievably well. And I thought that was a really good bet, so I apologise to our listeners.
I can tell you what, I've never been at a rugby league game and been checking my phone for the AFL scores. That was a first for me.
So for those that missed it last week, Junior went with Adelaide Crows to beat Brisbane, into the Rabbitohs to beat Canberra in Canberra.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and also I've got to mention the two sporting clubs that got behind us through the week. We had the Robina Braves Junior Dugout, our baseball club, and the North Burleigh Nippers both got behind an online poll. So I really appreciate that. The North Burleigh Nippers have edged them out. So am I breathing into the mic? Is that me? That's you, Jake. You're in the windy spot, mate.
Sorry, boys.
You're right. So the North Burleigh Nippers have edged them out in the online poll. So thank you for the Robina Braves. We'll try and do something for you later in the year.
Do they know they've got to wait 6 months till they get the $1,000?
So that's the sort of disappointing news I had to deliver as well. Like, hey, you've won the Facebook poll, but
North Burleigh, you're up to $800. You're back to zero.
We're back to zero. So I'll change hats. Or can I do that?
On goes the North Burleigh hat.
So I've got my North Burleigh Nippers hat on now. Rest assured, North Burleigh, you know where the worst thing is some of those people know where I live. so we're going to have to come up with that $1,000. But we will obviously do that. Just further shout out for the Robina Braves. Great sport, great little club. Get behind them if you can. If you're not sure what your kids want to do during summer, go and have a hit of baseball. It's a really inclusive game, and they'd love to see you down there. So sorry to fully hijack that, but we can get back to the actual business now.
That's great. And I saw some really good results from the polls too. Was some good interactions and good numbers.
Yeah,
both clubs got behind it, which is great.
Yeah, they've all dropped off since the Crows lost, but it was good. It was good leading up to that.
1 point. That's right. So I apologise. I'll take full responsibility.
You did all right, mate. That was tough.
I was praying that maybe we had a couple of points start or something that I didn't know about, and we'd got home. But
so did I, actually. I was sort of hoping Dylan made another mistake.
Yeah.
I was actually hoping I didn't put the bet on again.
yeah.
So I'm So we never know, really. That's the brilliant thing until we get in here on a Monday or Tuesday. Dylan leads us all down all different paths. So we never knew, but yeah, that's disappointing.
The biggest positive, Junior, is they're back on again this week.
That's
so
right.
we can find another winner.
That's right.
So-
Never stops, Dylan.
Have you done the form?
So where's the 100?
I have.
Where's the 100 coming from? The big guy.
I've got it sorted.
Have you got that crickets?
The mic's just stopped. No, the mics are still working.
We'll talk about that off air.
I'll tell you one thing, Junior, we did, and I showed Junior on. Timmy's got the cash floating around.
Timmy's a man.
And I shared it with Junior on Facebook, but we've had a request for the odd horse racing tip, which Junior's quite. I wouldn't say he's good at, but he's partial to a horse racing bet. So
They do keep asking me where does Junior come from? Is that where he comes from? Where do you come from, Junior? What is your background? What's
Should we keep it a
Junior,
keep it a secret?
Junior was he's an overrated cricketer. The old leg spin and now is in the, strangely enough, boys.
they never spun though, did they?
No, they went straight, like a Neil Kumble, but the Australian version. So I was an overrated leg spinner for a period of time. I've had some race horses with the great Paul Butterworth in Brisbane, as has Dylan, and I've always been around horses my whole life. I'm a horrible punter, but on the horses.
I don't know. You had a pretty good streak. We really should be handing over $1,000 check to some lucky sporting club if it wasn't for Dylan.
That's true.
Yeah. So
Should be a story up.
we got
Twitter
close.
We need to make sure that never ever gets forgotten. All right?
We will get back there,
Ever.
Junior. So I think
every podcast.
Maybe what we need to do is outside the Junior's Jaffa every now and then we need Junior to post on Facebook a little horse racing tip.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
we could. Yeah, yep. And we'll need a warning on those.
Pretty much whoever follows it will back the opposite.
yeah. Lay that and back the field because it'll lose.
But we'll look at
Yeah,
that
that's
one.
something
Gail.
special.
That was for Gail. Shout out to Gail.
Oh, thanks, Gail.
Yeah, I did see that. That was great. No, so yeah, disappointing. Rabbitohs were good. The Crows were okay. So we will.
You can't win them all, Junior.
That's right. That's right. So
What do we got this week?
This week was funny. I looked through both the AFL and NRL. I've sort of poked my head around. We've obviously got the French Open coming up, which is always nice. You could sort of rattle off a few of those favourites in the first round. You can rattle up a decent number there. But
we have had a bit of feedback from the more conservative of our listeners that maybe we should diversify our bets a little bit. Obviously, for week one, we're probably going to go hard at something, but maybe, once the kitty grows, that maybe bank some.
Pig's ass. Let it ride. That's why it's called a bet.
Right.
There's nothing like having $900 on a $1.60 favourite.
Right.
That'll get you really. You get into
North
a game
Burleigh
of footy.
Nippers don't want to wait 6 months to get the $1,000.
No, they don't.
So let's get there in 3 weeks.
It'd be good
We'll
to
get
hand it
there in
over
3.
before the next season starts. Would be nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll get back on track. I think that if we can build something decent in the first few weeks, like we did at the start, and look to sort of roll a decent number into some of these, we'll call them morals with the better teams. I think we should be able to bank 1,000 pretty quickly, hopefully, because we do have. I think we're 2 weeks away from Origin, aren't we? 3 weeks away, 2 weeks away.
2 weeks away, yeah.
Yeah. Where the split rounds and there's probably not a lot to choose from. And that's when it does get tough.
It gets dicey when all the stars leave the game.
That's right. Yeah. So that's that becomes tricky. So there is a bit of method to the madness. I sort of look at I like looking at the quality teams, the top 4 teams when they come off a small win or a loss, and that's where we've sort of gone this week. So I've gone match on Sunday, I believe. Between Canterbury and the Storm. And I think there's a kind enough line there, a -10, the Storm. The Storm unchanged. I think they're spot on. I think Welsh is out, but they've got some really key backups there that'll come in for him. And I didn't think they played that well. They scraped through last week. I think they're probably due to hit the straps again, similar to that Parramatta game, I think, where we backed them 2 weeks ago. So we'll go Melbourne Storm -10 at $1.90 to get the bank rolling again, boys.
Beautiful.
Sounds pretty solid. Hashtag gamble responsibly.
Yep.
Hashtag
Definitely.
remember to bet.
Hashtag Junior's
Pick the
Jaffa.
right side.
Yeah, I like
And,
it, Junior.
Yeah, so I think that should bank some dollars. There is interesting there. The Storm 13 plus is at 220, so that's been backed today. I saw it being backed in a little bit. So, but I thought the safe bet there, the -10 at $1.90 should bang us some dollars.
Get us started.
Correct.
What about while we're on it? Obviously, the Brisbane Carnival, Racing Carnival's in the midst of it at the moment. You got anything for the viewers to keep an eye on? Stradbroke, I think, is in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's Stradbroke and the JJ Atkins in a couple of weeks. Look, it's probably one that a little bit far out at the moment, but I think you got the Kingsford Smith Cup this week, that was that famous race, Black Caviar came to Brisbane. So yeah, I think a little bit far. There's some pretty nice horses there. I think the Home of the Brave and Trekking. I think I like the Home of the Brave there, which is about $8. I think I was looking at in that one. But maybe next week I'll have a look through and ask a few experts about maybe the Stradbroke and a few on that day for everyone.
What about, once we get some in the kitty, we bank, most of it goes onto the next bet, but then, $20 goes on some sort of hot thing on the track.
Yeah, we can do that.
I like that. Yeah. I like that. I think that's great. And
Righto.
hopefully a bit of value as well. So maybe we'll look forward to a few races in the Winter Carnival. Maybe Stratty Day for the listeners to jump on.
Beautiful.
Righto. Thank you for that, Junior. Hopefully
Thanks, boys.
we're a bit happier next week when we talk to you.
Yes, that'd be great. Have a good week.
Righto,
boys.
Thanks,
Junior.
mate.
See you,
ya.
mate.
Cheers.
There we go.
Tough.
Storm -10. 100 at $1.90.
You would think they'll cover those blokes. Should we go 13 plus?
You go with what Junior says.
Righto.
Junior's Jaffa, not Red's Jaffa.
Yeah, I got nothing in my betting account. I think that just about wraps us up for the week. We got
That's
any
it.
Oh, Timmy, where have you been? We didn't talk about where you've been.
China. 9 days, 10 days, 11 days.
Are we allowed to
9,
talk
10 days
about that,
China?
or is it sort of a bit of a top secret?
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
I've had the clearance, security
Yeah.
clearance.
Yeah, good.
Plenty of Chinese food over there.
A lot of.
Well,
They
actually,
just call it food over there.
I do that.
Yeah. I actually, true story. We're walking through one of the. I can't remember the name of the main square in Shanghai now, but there was a sign that said Chinese restaurant, and I said that to the tour guide. I said, "Why doesn't it just say restaurant?"
I like
So,
it.
but they do struggle with humour. The tour guides were really good, but obviously when you have a language breakdown, then you try and throw a bit of humour in, it gets completely lost. So I did struggle, but it was amazing. It was amazing. Tripper deal, $9.99, buy one get one free. 10 days, all expenses paid.
Hang on, do they pay for that plug?
They didn't, but get on
no
board.
more mentions unless they're paying.
Well, no, it's like a tip. It's like get on
that's,
it.
That's
$9.99, 2 people, all expenses paid, airfares, accommodation.
Timmy's
tours.
tip. Timmy's tip for the week.
Travel tip.
Timmy's travel
Tripper
tip.
deal. Get on board.
Always pack a set of jeans and find a good deal online. That's Timmy's tip.
That's it.
Very good.
Does that do us for the week?
That'll be it.
Righto, no one listens this far into the show. We could talk about anything at this point.
That's right.
You could. Maybe we
Anything?
should discuss next week's.
This week, we need to get
What do
we
you
need
have
to
for
get a guest on this show ASAP. That's your department, big guy. I'm looking in your direction. Special guest.
I've already secured a beer connoisseur.
Oh, okay.
So
All
we
right,
do have.
folks.
Well, I'm not going to mention the beer label, but we do have someone that is confirmed coming in. Actually, we're going to be coming off the back of a beer festival, local festival happening in northern New South Wales.
Righto. So
So we're
stay
going to talk
tuned,
about
folks.
that. We're going to bring in some different beers for you to try, just to sample a
Beautiful.
few, and he's going to have a bit of a chat about a few different types of beers.
Righto.
Look forward to that.
Bit of culture.
Sounds good. Cheers, guys.
All right, boys.
Let's
Over
wrap
and
it
out.
up.
Thanks.
See you next week.
See you, bye.